Welcome to The Kingdom, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics in a land defended by Sir Ross's Knights. Now here's your host, Rocco Jeppy.
Hello, Knights Nation. Rocco Jeppy here for The Kingdom Podcast. We thank you for tuning in for episode number 25. And today we continue with our spring previews. Joining me on the show today, head men's lacrosse coach Tim King. Tim, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Rocco.
Absolutely. So in your fourth season as head coach, for those that don't already know, talk about how it feels to coach a team at a place where you once played.
Well, it's been a joy to be back here for sure. It's not something I expected to be doing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But in this kind of challenge of being a junior college head coach has been extremely rewarding in a lot of ways. I think representing an alumni of the program,
Mm-hmm.
Both as a player and as a previous assistant coach, that brings a lot of honor and pride, I think, to what we're trying to do, and I look at everything that I'm doing right now as really a joint effort in everyone related to the Essex program. I mean, it's a huge alumni base, and it's a great alumni base. There's a lot of the support from the past coaches. There is the Brian Healy Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
There are numerous things that make this program what it's been for all this time, and so I definitely feel that. I feel that pride, that sense of pride, and want to do the best job I can to try and make this all happen in the best results that we can get, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely a legacy there, and you mentioned some of those things that go with that legacy, and it's really cool to see how each head coach has put his own spin on it, but have continued that legacy of what it really means to be a CCBC Essex Knights men's lacrosse student athlete.
Yeah, I think that right now we're trying to, earn back some of our pride. Our record is not the same as it has been over the history of 40 years. We certainly have had a couple seasons that have been similar to these kind of records. We even went to some national championships with 5 losses per se.
Right.
But the program as a whole in the landscape of junior college and the Maryland region is real competitive. I mean, we're not the heavyweight defending the belt anymore.
Right.
That's been gone a couple seasons ago, and we've been the trying to fight back to really have pride in the program and show that we can get back on top again. I mean, that's the real goal, and has been my mission, being back here, as well as just doing, the best that we can, obviously. But yeah.
All right, Tim. Well, I think that's all very true. It's a good answer there for that question. Obviously, nobody in the country can do this by themselves. It takes a lot to run a program like this. Tell us about some of the support staff, outside of your assistant coaches, because we'll get to them in a little while here, that have helped make this team possible, that help you, day in, day out.
Well, I think Essex has had an administration that has been extremely supportive of sports, and the lacrosse program in particular for all these years. In these recent years, with yourself and Greg Wickup and Will Shaw and everybody in the cage and Amy, all the support that happens there. This is a part-time job per se. You're not always here, and having all that support and walking in the door and knowing they've got a lot of things covered for you is huge. I think that there's been some things that support staff and administration has really focused on these past couple years that have made a huge difference for this team and for our overall culture. I mean, I think the focus towards academics, the support of Will Shaw. I know that there's been people in the past that have been in academic advising or whatever role that have supported the past coaches. But I think that the focus that has happened since I've been here to that has, one, we had the most academic All-Americans last year for lacrosse, and the GPA has really risen, and I'm not sure statistically where it sits on all the past history, but is very high. And I think that one of the culture things that this support staff has been able to do is to get the maturity of the boys focused towards the things that help them.
Right.
And if it, that not just getting good grades, but actually caring about why they're going to class to go to attend and learn, not just, let's say, tracking them with not a progress report, but a attendance sheet to say, did you show up to class today, and are we going to suspend you from practice from it? But actually getting them to understand, to take pride in themselves about what their end result is in their grades, so that they're showing up for class because they want to be there.
Right.
And then as they're there, I think the amazing turn that happens is that guys figure out that they actually can do it. A junior college student sometimes comes in not necessarily already knowing I can accomplish schoolwork, or school's not for me, or those things. And sometimes it's the sport that is the dangling carrot that helps them want to stay eligible, let's say.
Right.
But when your group as a whole can make a turn where they go, oh, it's cool to be in class. It's cool to help out my fellow teammate with his schoolwork, or let's meet and study together. Those things compound on themselves, and then allow them to be more well-rounded in their time management skills, their ability to do it well, and achieve the better grades in class. And so that supports the support staff as a whole. I guess my main point is that it really has been a big thing for our program. It's something that's going to help these kids when they're moving forward to get to that 4-year school.
That's awesome, because when it all boils down to it, that's kind of what it's all about. It's kind of why we're all here.
It is.
So definitely going to talk some more here with head coach Tim King. We're up against our first break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the team that's going to be on the field, and we're going to hear a little bit about what to expect from this night's team this season. You're listening to the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics.
Let's talk about college.
Times have changed.
We've changed.
I refuse to accept an education that comes with a mountain of crippling debt.
I will not confuse a fancy name with a quality education.
Let's talk practical.
Let's talk flexible.
Let's talk smart education.
For all the practical thinkers, the achievers, the can't wait to get started types out there, your community college is waiting. Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online at ccbcmd.edu and see what you can be.
We are back. Thank you for continuing to listen to the Kingdom Podcast. Joining me today is head men's lacrosse coach Tim King. And before we hit our break, we were talking about the support staff and how well the guys are doing in class this year. And let's kind of talk about this team, Tim. Let's tell me what can fans and what can those that follow this program expect from Knights men's lacrosse this season?
Well, one, we have a full team. I mean, we got players in every position. It is a team that is very competitive and will be able to compete with everybody, I believe. We're fighting within our region to try to get back to winning a region.
Right.
And with that, I think that we have the players that can do that. We've got I think that from a balance of our team, offense is kind of a stronger point, but our defense is well rounded in the guys we need, to be in there. So I think that we'll be able to play both sides of the ball. I think it is going to take a lot of strategy based on what other teams have. What we have is a full squad, and I think that this is a competitive squad that can compete with everybody. So, yeah, not to mention we play. I believe it's the toughest schedule in junior college because we do play every team. I don't know if every other NJCAA team plays every team like we do, and if there's only maybe one. Yeah. So we're right there in terms of the competitiveness that we're going to have and the teams we're facing, and I definitely think that we have a team that is, good enough to be up to any of the challenges that come.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always respected about this program is no matter where we were in the progression of things with this team is, CCBC Essex is not going to back down from anybody. We're not going to wallow in our own self-pity when things are going bad, and we're not going to be, shouting from the mountaintop when things are going good. We're going to schedule all comers and whoever wants to play us, and if that's the number one team in the nation that once won 109 or 10, whatever it was, games, then so be it. If it's the team that's a new up-and-coming program, then it's going to be them too. Essex is always, taking on anybody that comes knocking to the door.
Yeah, I think the proof of that and from the 2018 program, was it 18, right? Was when we had 16 guys. That group, but I still pay homage to them with our current teams and with the players just because they were willing to show up every time. We're facing teams that are viewing Essex as the dynasty that it had been, and we're coming in with 16 guys, and we still had to wear the jersey with pride and fight for that respect and honor. And, I do think that from that team, even through the teams we've had, after that last year and this year, that trait is there, that sense of pride, because win, lose, or draw, we're going to show up and we're going to put it on the field. Yeah. And we're from not being the Essex of old, where we're walking down the hill and thinking that teams are all scared of us. We're walking down the hill saying, it's time for us to step up. It's time for us to face whatever it is and go for it as hard as we can. Yeah. I think that's in this team and in the last couple of years.
So we're going to get to those young men that are going to be between the lines here in just a second, but take a little bit of time to tell me about the coaching staff this year. You have a couple of coaches back, and then you have a new coach to the fold. Take me through each one of them and just kind of let me know what they bring.
Yeah, so Kenny Reed and Russell Tutt are both coming back. Kenny, I think, for his fourth year. They've been here the whole time with me, and Russell for his third year. They both play some different roles and have helped with defense or coordinating position and jobs to run in the box. I really think the main thing is the fact that they're also alumni and their passion for the message for the guys, because when we're out there, whether we're doing X's and O's or we're working on fundamentals, the overall attitude of being an Essex Knight and taking pride in the process that happens here, the progression of maturity as a young man. And then what I think is the biggest progression of maturity is the challenge to be an Essex Knight, because whether you're the best team in the country and everybody's got your, the bullseye is on your back, or whether you're the team that's fighting to try and get back now, the pressure of being an Essex lacrosse player is the it job. It's in junior college in Maryland and has been for a long time. So I don't think that changes based on record. What changes is the angle or the approach. that you have to bring to the table as you're trying to, honor the shield or the jersey. So and they have been incredibly awesome. Like the two of them, I could not have, even with the support staff at Essex, could not have tried to do anything that we're doing now without the commitment that those two guys have had for the last 3 and 4 years. And so, many thanks to them and what we're still continuing to try and do. And then Phil Bates is the new coach added on. Phil has a history that's longer than I can tell you about him, but he definitely has a history with some of our current players from his past in Pennsylvania. He's a Maryland guy. We actually, in our similar ages, have kind of been around the block together in Baltimore and lacrosse things from a long time ago. And then, his tenure of coaching in every facet that he has coached just brings a lot more to our staff with having another older guy with, maturity and the ability to help in ways that are just being free for the job as an adult, because getting guys to be able to volunteer or be on such a stipend, it's hard to get the time commitment, and he's really willing to be able to help in a lot of ways and brings also his knowledge of the game to help us. And we're working out right now and having a staff getting those roles right so that we are the most effective we can be, for the kids and the players. And we don't have a 9-man staff like some of the teams have been able to accrue over this time. So, yeah,
it's definitely different, but I think there is something to be said for that more of a, 1-on-5, 1-on-7 type of attention. You don't have to have one coach for every 4 players. You can get things done in small groups. And I think that's good, the way that you kind of attack
What's
that.
interesting is that lacrosse, and most recently, has become more statistical and broken down than it's ever been before. And so a lot of staffs are trying to get a lot of coaches and micro teach each little thing and then get the exact stats on all of it. And, that's all great. And there's other sports that, have taken that to the nth degree. And then with lacrosse, which I relate a little bit more to hockey, is a go play sport. Like I've played ice hockey my whole life. And I had a friend of mine recently say to me, like, do they even run plays in hockey? Because if you don't see it or understand it, you don't know what they're doing really. And lacrosse has a similarity to that aspect, which is, I think there's a lot more called out in lacrosse, a lot more plays to such of the movements, but you just got to go play. And it's learning those little tools in the play that make a big difference in the continuity of a team, and also one guy being able to be a player,
Well, we're going to learn about some of those young men that are going to go out there and play here as we're up against our second commercial break. When we return, we're going to meet some of those student athletes, hear about the team as a whole, and talk about the season opener coming up not too far away. You're listening to the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Let's talk about college. Times have changed, and I say no to an education at the cost of crippling debt, because paying off student loans for the next 30 years is not in my financial plans.
Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online and see what you can be.
We are back. Rocco Jeppy for the Kingdom Podcast. I'm joined today by head men's lacrosse coach Tim King. And before we went to break, we were talking about, you had mentioned, you just got to get out there and play. Obviously, you need student athletes to do that, so we're going to take this time to kind of meet some of them. Tim, let's start out with the returners. Talk to me about who's coming back to this squad and what type of impact you expect.
Well, we're lucky this year. That is the first season since I've been here that we really had an older group coming back, whether it's sophomores or a 3-year guy or whatever. But having some of the maturity to this team is going to be a big help this year. So we have 2 3-year guys that made it back after taking a year off, Evan Clement and Josh Skelfie. The two of those guys have really been crucial too to just the overall glue of recruiting. To keep the team together, to keep freshmen would be interested in Essex, to sophomores that are coming back and that sort of thing. And those guys have been kind of more actually kind of silent leaders, I guess, but they're definitely the impact players, I think, as we're going in with our offense. Noah Park is another sophomore that's back and is a 3rd-year college student, and again, same sort of thing. A bit older, more mature, with being wiser in a couple years now, and is definitely that impact player. And then our whole defense is actually, I think we only have one freshman that is on our defense. So we've got a good group of guys that have been around the block in terms of playing. They played for good high school programs like Calvert Hall and Loyola, private schools. Towson High School as a public school, so they've been with good programs, and so the balance on our offense and defense with the maturity is another kind of highlight of what we have this year to work with, which is nice as a coach. We really last year we only had a couple older guys and sophomores, and although we had some really good players. Just being able to keep our cool, I guess, in the some of the adversity and times. It makes it easier when you have those older guys and you have sophomores back and they've faced these teams before and kind of know what to expect. So
well, talk about how those returners. It's obviously it's Juco, so you have turnover. So you got a lot of newcomers on the team. Talk about those newcomers, how they're going to fit in with this group.
Well, we do have some newcomers that are playing key roles. So, our goalie is a freshman, with our other goalie being a sophomore. Both of them I expect to do a lot of work for this team this year. Jake Lance is the freshman and comes from a local public school right here and played on a club team where, the kind of kid that every time I heard about him playing for a team, the coach is going, man, that's a small goalie, but oh my God, he's going to do big things. So, he's done that. He showed up to Essex and he showed that right away. We got a couple other young guys, Mason Hickman from Towson High School, thanks to Coach Burke possibly over there with having him, and Gabe Lichtenstein is another younger or freshman from St. Paul's who's making a big impact in our first practices and our preseason scrimmages.
All right. What this is always a tough question to ask. I imagine a tough question for our coaches to answer. But what are the goals and expectations for this team this year?
I mean, that's actually an easy one for me because the goal has been the goal, and it's been an overall goal, And then when you take that overall goal and you apply it to this year, we're looking to win the region. And I think that with how our season went last year and how close we were and the difference in a couple of those games based on some injuries and some things, we're really kind of salivating at getting that chance back again. Now, in Juco, every year it's a brand new team. Sure. You could be the national champs last year, and you got to completely redo. You're just not going to redo it again. I mean, Onondaga has been doing this, proven otherwise, for so long. But what I mean, just in junior college, you have to redo it every year, and it's a brand new team. And so this year, winning the region and making it to nationals is the goal, and it's a hungry goal, and it's a goal that, because these guys that are older, that also know more about and been around with the Essex program, and then also know how we did last year, they're even more motivated, to try to make sure that becomes a reality. So, I think those goals are obtainable for sure, and I think that as you go to obtain them, again, it does the thing that we talked about earlier in the podcast, which is you're up against this challenge no matter what your result ends up being at the end.
Right.
The maturity that comes from you going for it is really what this team has and what we're all about. And I really feel strongly that they can accomplish our goal for this year. Yeah.
So when it gets down to the end of the season, whatever that might be, whether it's the end of the year you come up just short, or you win the region and you continue to advance, and it ends in the Final Four or the national championship run, whatever marks the end of the season, for you, how will you define success for this year?
Well, I think if you take last year, we had a lot of success last year without the end result being the goal that I just stated. We obviously don't want the same result this year. The competitiveness of our region, and then the nature of the AQs of what it means to try and get to nationals, is going to leave out definitely 2 teams in Maryland, if not 3. And so we, I think what will define success at the end of this season is making our goals. If we're for some reason trying to find a success in the season that we didn't reach our goals, I'll tell you that's the part that we're digging hard about anyway.
Yeah.
We've got guys focused on maturing. We got guys focused on schoolwork and what it means to move on to a 4-year school. We got guys focused on their own personal goals towards lacrosse when they are out of Essex. And we will be able to reflect back on those things and really see a lot of great accomplishments that even happened last year and the year before with Essex, and will continue to happen this year. And we would try and define some success based on that. But we want to define our success on our goals being accomplished this year, and we want to win the region and or make it to nationals, and we know what we're up against to try and do that this year. And it is a real good challenge, and we want to make sure we do that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Before I let you go, I got to ask you, as we get to our final commercial break and we're coming back with this segment, you've been around, the guys have been out to the games, in about 30 to 40 seconds. Kind of talk to me about the buzz about this women's basketball team that is taking the nation by storm.
Oh, well, the buzz. It's around here, obviously. You can see it. Those girls are fun. You see them kind of walking around and enjoying their success, and some of our players are friends with their players, so they get to ham it up and stuff like that. And the quality of team that they have, watch them on the court and some of the plays that they make. Our guys are, they like to highlight plays, so they get hooting and hollering about little stuff like that. But in terms of coaching and what our coaches are doing, the success speaks for itself, and that's what you want to have. So, it's been exciting. Can't wait to watch more of it, and our guys will be out there rooting.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing you and the team out there again tomorrow night. More information coming up on that one on the other side of the break. Tim, as always, appreciate you coming out and being on the show. It's a little bit of a different setup since last time, but we're digging the new digs here, and appreciative of digital media here.
Glad you're doing it. Glad you're doing it.
That's Tim King, ladies and gentlemen, our head men's lacrosse coach. When we come back, we will have a game preview for the Knights women's basketball team coming up on Wednesday, February 19th. You're listening to the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics.
Let's talk about college. Times have changed, and I refuse to accept an education that comes with a mountain of crippling debt. Because paying off student loans for the next 30 years is not in my financial plans.
For all the practical thinkers, the achievers, the can't wait to get started types out there, your community college is waiting. Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online at CCBCMD.edu and see what you can be.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back on the Kingdom Podcast, and again, a special thanks to head coach Tim King of your Knights men's lacrosse team for joining us here today. Right now, we want to talk about the big game coming up to the Kingdom Wednesday, February 19th, 6 p.m. in the Wellness and Athletic Center here at CCBC Essex, where your number 12 Knights will take on Lackawanna. Lackawanna coming in this season as a Final Four participant a season ago, currently receiving votes, and they are just outside of the top 20, ranked 21st in the nation. This is going to be a big game, folks, between both of these programs. A lot going on. Essex coming into this game on a 13-game winning streak. They just won the Maryland Juco Conference for the first time in 38 years. Lots of records being set by this team this year. Maya Moy, of course, is probably the most highlighted this season with that 81-point game. She is among the nation, conference, and regional leaders this season. The Knights looking to win their 9th consecutive game at home. They haven't lost a game at home this year. They are 8-0 on the season. Talking about some of these young ladies, Maya Moy, 23.2 points per game. She leads the conference and is among the nation's leaders in assists and points per game. Casey Gagan, and what can we say about Casey? She's able to do it all on the court. She is currently 3rd in the nation, Division II in steals with 117. And Ashlyn Flynn, 4th most rebounds in the conference. She's also in the top 10 in blocks per game in the nation as well. As we mentioned, the Knights come in 12th in the country. And, going into this season, there were a lot of games scheduled. Although this is a first-year team after a 15-year hiatus, a lot of games scheduled that were meant to be competitive, that were meant to test this team. And a credit to head coach Mike Sini and to our athletic director Greg Wickop, who set the schedule. That's kind of what they wanted for this team. They wanted them to be tested. They wanted them to be tested, toward the beginning, middle of the season, and then toward the end of the season as we head into the regional playoffs. And, it doesn't get much more of a test than playing against one of the Final Four teams from a season ago. Lackawanna, they are coming in hot as well. On Monday, they won their 15th game in a row. As I mentioned earlier, receiving votes in a national poll and ranked 21st. 4 of their student athletes are averaging double-digit scoring. They're led by Brianna McCullough, who is averaging 16.2 points per game. Kiana Price, she's big on the boards, averaging just over 10 rebounds per game. 177 of her 271 rebounds are on the defensive end. Kiana Williams, she is the Ashlyn Flynn for the Falcons. She's averaging 2.5 blocks per game in just 19.4 minutes played. The Falcons shooting as a team 45% and 34% beyond the arc. They are, however, shooting just 68% from the free throw line. And to give you those same numbers from your Knights, the Knights shooting just under 40% at 39.8 as a team. They are 32.1% from three-point land. However, they are shooting 5% better, 72% from the free throw line. The Knights, they've attempted 1.5 times more three-pointers than Lackawanna. Lackawanna has attempted 598 threes. The Knights, 950 three-point attempts. So you're going to see some long-distance shooting out of these teams. And as I say that, they'll probably come in on Wednesday night and drive the paint or pull up some mid-range jump shots. But this is going to be an exciting game, folks. And for our students, faculty, and staff, we want to get you there, and we want to say thank you for your support all season long. Come out to the game Wednesday, February 19th, 6 p.m. tip-off. The first 75 fans to this game will receive a CCBC sling bag, and in 20 of those randomly placed will be a Chick-fil-A coupon good for a free chicken sandwich. Chick-fil-A will be on hand, as they are always, for our game that day. And we're also going to be raffling off a Chick-fil-A gift basket. Includes stuffed animal, a couple more bags, cups, and some cool things from Chick-fil-A. That will be a free raffle, so every fan in attendance will receive a raffle ticket, and your name will go in that. We will choose that at halftime. So again, come out Wednesday, February 19th, 6 p.m. We want you to pack the kingdom. First 75 fans get a CCBC sling bag, and 20 lucky fans will have a coupon for a free Chick-fil-A sandwich. Make it out, come out, cheer on the Knights, and see probably some of the most competitive basketball in the area. And it's definitely going to be for a price you can afford, because admission to see the number 12 ranked team in the nation is absolutely free. You have no excuse, unless you're in class, no excuse to miss out on what promises to be an exciting basketball game. That's all we have for you today, folks. Episode number 25 in the books. Again, special thanks to head men's lacrosse coach Tim King. I'm Rocco Jeppi. We thank you for joining us here on the Kingdom Podcast, and we hope to get you back next week. So long.